Hey everybody, it's Tuesday, May 6th. You're here at the weekly Chaos Community Call. Here we are again, just like every Tuesday. Really happy to see you all here. I hope you're having a good week so far. It's only Tuesday, so hopefully things are okay so far, as okay as they can be, I guess, in certain circumstances. So let's go ahead and share the minutes here. If you have something that made you laugh recently, a little bit of joy in your day, would love to hear that. Uh, yeah, I'm going to see a comedian next week. Nate Bargatze. Do you guys know who that is?
I don't.
Oh, he's really funny. He's very clean, very like deadpan, very funny. You should Google him if you have not seen him. He's very Nate Bargatze is his name. He's pretty hilarious. So yeah, you should take him.
Oh wait, I know
Check
what.
it out.
I was I was reading old Far Sides, and one of them
Classic, always.
really made me laugh. So
I feel like they aged well. I don't know for a fact.
I
That's
did.
I don't have data to back that up, but I feel like they have aged well.
Yeah, I know the concern you're talking about. Like there could be some drawings that you're like, maybe not in
Hmm.
2025.
Yeah. But for the most part,
I have a bunch of those, and I also have a bunch of the old Calvin and Hobbes,
hmm.
which have aged. I mean, those are completely
Yeah,
those
yeah,
are amazing.
completely okay. Georg, I have really wanted to see this show. I've never watched it, and I see like the ads for it every now and again, and I think, oh, that looks funny, and then I just never watch it. So you're saying that this is the US version? We should check that out, huh?
That is my personal humor, and when I learned there was a UK version that is a couple years older, like only a few years older, I thought, why would they redo a show, just copy the same idea? Now that I'm watching both, night and day difference. The kind of humor that those shows have is very different between the US version and the British version. It's unbelievable.
Isn't it funny? Yeah, The Office is the same. Yeah, as in the chat, totally different. I prefer the US version. I don't know if it's because I'm from America, but isn't it funny? Like there's such a science behind humor and comedy, and just it's really fascinating. I read a book once, started to read. I didn't finish it, of course, because why would I finish anything? But it was super fascinating about just like the science and the psychology and the way that the things that make people laugh. And it's I have a baby. My grandson is 4 months old now, and like he thinks I'm hilarious, and I mean, sure, of course, but all I have to do is be silly with
Yeah.
him. But it's so funny to see the things that make little babies laugh. Even it's I don't know. I think that's kind of neat. I'll find that book actually and share that in Slack because it was super interesting. If you're a fan of like human psychology or human behavior, it's really super interesting. Okay, let's go ahead and go on to the agenda. The first thing is I just put this on here because we just had a big discussion about AI note takers. I think we have now maybe 10. I felt like there were about 10 of them in here. It's kind of overwhelming us at every chaos meeting. So if you are using them, we would really appreciate if you would just disable them for chaos meetings. We take notes here, we post things on YouTube. It should be enough, it should be enough. So it's really disheartening when you join a meeting and it's you and 10 bots. So we are going to put a few more reminders in the Slack, but if you yeah, we are reporting them as spam. So we'd rather you just kind of take the initiative, but if we have to report them, then we will. So if you could just kind of help us keep those down, would be very helpful to the community. So thank you. Does anybody have questions about that? I know they can be helpful for some, but in this case, we would really appreciate if you did not use them.
Hi,
Okay.
Elizabeth. Naomi
Hi.
Tadinka.
Hey, Anika.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Okay, so what I notice is that most of the people that use the AI note takers don't attend meetings usually. So I think probably they've kind of automated it or automated the AI note takers, and they are unaware that it's causing a problem for the community. So I'm pushing it out. Let's think over how we can probably reach out to this set of people if we notice, okay, these are the usual set of people that have these note takers on. We can then reach out to them to ask them to remove them from the chaos calendar.
My thought on that is if the AI note takers were useful, and when we, at the very beginning, we say, hey, we are removing AI note takers, this is not what we want. Those who have those enabled, if they read the transcript, they would know. The fact that they continue to send the AI note takers to this meeting tells me that the notes are not actually reviewed by anyone. So yeah, it'll be challenging to get a hold of the right people.
One thing about it is that some of them is hard to identify whose note taker is who, because some are not actually having the real names. These people be black. So how do we now reach out to them to tell them about this note taker?
We probably can't, because there is that one, it's like Firefly note taker. To your point, I don't know who that is. And I feel like we've reached out before, like early. Didn't you do that, Elizabeth? To try to, oh yeah, Otter.
I don't remember. Honestly, I don't remember if I did or not. If
We
I
did
did or
when it was first starting, because we could tell a few of them. You know what I mean? Just by names, to Peculiar's point. And so I think we tried to reach out to a few, and maybe that had an effect. Like we'd have to go back and I don't feel like doing that amount of work, taking a look at who the original bots were, and then if reaching out helped. But I think Adenyanka's point is well taken, that if we could identify a few of them, maybe we could reach out to that person directly.
Yeah, I don't have a problem doing that.
I mean, it could just be like a cut and paste kind of comment
Mhm.
to that person.
Yeah. Does anybody think that that's weird or have a issue with me reaching out directly to anybody?
I sure don't.
Okay. I shall do that. Any other questions, comments on that? On this topic? Okay. Well, let's go on. I just had some FYIs. If you don't know what that stands for, it just stands for your information, just quick announcements. I wanted to let people know I did archive the first quarter of this tab and also the CHAOSS Africa tab because it was already getting to like 50 pages. And my Zoom struggles, I think, with this. I can tell it's struggling right now. For instance, like I'm scrolling and it's not scrolling. So yeah, just to let you all know. And there's a link at the top here if you want to go back to March or before. So
I think it's a good habit
that's
anyway.
okay.
Even like not
Sorry.
technically. I think it's a good habit anyway to occasionally archive stuff.
Yeah, me too, especially since we have everything in one document now. There is a real danger of it getting just bloated and hard to load. Mhm.
Would it be easier just to archive the entire thing?
I mean, essentially, that's what I did. I just made a copy of it.
Okay.
And
Just
yeah,
delete
and then
this.
went back to this one and deleted. Yeah.
Okay, I see. Okay, so yeah, makes sense. Are you just versioning it or copying it?
I copied it into a new doc and put it in the 2025 folder.
Okay. Versioning might work as well, I'm not sure. You
Yeah.
can somewhere, I kind of forget, like if you click on that little clock thing up by all the people.
The versions are hidden away
Are
more
they?
so than what Elizabeth is doing.
Okay. Because you have to do this.
Yeah, would be harder to find and use.
Okay. Okay. No problem.
And I didn't go through all of the meeting minutes. I just did the big ones that meet every week.
Mhm.
So if anybody thinks, like if you're in a meeting and you're thinking that your minutes are getting long and you want me to do that, just let me know. Somebody just let me know and I'll be happy to.
Actually, what would be helpful is maybe next time you're gonna do it, say like in 3 months or something, just put a call out that you're gonna do it on a particular date. Because then if people want to delete stuff right after that, they could do that.
Yeah, so I would just copy it over and then let everybody else archive. Is that what you're
Yeah.
saying? Or delete?
Well, you would copy it over, so that's the archive, yeah. And then you would say, okay, everybody, I just made a backup of everything. So if you want to reduce the file size within your working group, now's a great time to do that.
Gotcha.
That way you don't have to go through each document and people can just kind of, the leads can just kind of make their own judgment. And really, they just have to delete at that point.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good idea. Thanks.
And in fact, you could almost make that call now. When did you do this backup?
This morning.
So you could just say, I mean, you could just say if you feel like deleting things that are older than any meeting that happened this morning, feel free. You know, we've got it all backed up.
Yep. Okay. Good idea. And now we have a channel for the leads. I could just throw that out there once. I love it. Okay, good idea. Anybody else? Comments, questions? Anything? Okie doke. The next one is just to let everybody know the funding impact meeting is canceled tomorrow. The speaker was not able to make it and they don't have anything else on their agenda. So they just went ahead and canceled the meeting. I did take it off the calendar and it's of course in their Slack, but I told them I would also mention it here just in case someone missed that. So that's just an FYI. The next one is also just an FYI to let you all know, the code of conduct team decided to put their minutes in our doc. So those are transparent, they're open. That was their decision to do that. And if you have questions about that, we can ask them, but it seems pretty straightforward. But I will stop here in case people do. I did ask Mary Blessing about just to make sure there was no sensitive information in those, and she said that they had gone through everything and checked for that, so it should be fine. Okay, and now I am going to hand this over to Divya, who has been so gracious in joining us at not probably a very convenient time for her. But yeah, she wants to show us what they've been working on, and I'm super excited to see this. So I'll just leave it to you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm also just gonna apologize right out of the bat because there's gonna be a lot of sound here in the background because there's a literal storm brewing outside my window. There's like stormy weather for some reason in the middle of May. So I'm really sorry about the background sound if you can hear a lot of it. Some leaf actually flew into my bedroom right now, so I'm really sorry. But yeah, so I am just gonna share my screen if that's okay with everyone here. And okay, where's the share screen? All right. So okay, so I'm hoping everyone can see the screen right now.
Yep.
So here, so we've been actually working or rather trying to work on this since the last year. We couldn't get a lot of volunteers to actually come up with this database, although it's really simple. The thing that you see right now is a database for open source communities that we've managed to sort of collate over the past year. It's not complete, and the idea for this is to be crowdsourced, if that's the right word, and for people to actually come and enter their communities if it's relevant to open source in any ecosystem, whether it's in the academic side or even if it's working with the government side of things. We actually have one here that goes way down, Tatva Civic Tech, which works on the government side of things. So we do have a bunch of those communities, but again, we started out this idea with an aim to just gather Asian open source communities, because I really do believe like having a listing of some sort actually helps people connect with one another, helps communities become aware of other people working in the space, and especially in Asia it's a little difficult due to a lot of um, uh, you know fractured communication channels in general. And I believe that it stands true for even the global context. So the idea was to start out with Asia and sort of extrapolate it to the global context. And we actually partnered with one of the local communities here, which is C4GT. They have actually reached out to us before for participation in the dedicated mentoring program, and we could not do that because of the clash with Google summer slash season. I'm not sure the season of code thing. So I just happened to put this up as an issue and had one of their volunteers, someone who actually could not be here because of power, a power cut in his area. So we basically came up with this over the last couple of weeks, rather last week, not even last couple of weeks. And full credits to him. This was just an idea that I had, and I'm gonna pause now because I have rambled for quite some time, and I do want to hear what y'all have to say about this, and if y'all have any feedback.
So this is super interesting. I love those maps always. The density maps like that you have down at the bottom, which is always really cool. Um, so like kind of what could you talk a little bit about how this might be used, for people? Is it about joining? Is it about trying to just get a handle on the different communities that exist?
Sure. So personally speaking, when I started with Chaos Asia, and this could be a very selfish motive to begin with, um, I did not have a lot of awareness about the kind of communities that existed in Asia outside of the ones that I participated in. And those were mainly specific to either the cloud native or the OSPO side of things, nothing to deal with any of the other vibrant communities out there focused on the digital public infrastructure goods. And there's a bunch of people who are also working on the open science side of stuff. So I did not personally have an idea. So this was born out of that selfish motive that if I had that problem, there surely is some community manager out there who's facing the same problem as I am. In the sense that most communities are, or rather most open source communities in this in any region, they could stand to learn from one another. And maybe that's a very idealistic goal to begin with, but also collaboration in between, the regional communities, because a lot of the people out there do not know that communities exist within the same region that they live in, and that they're probably part of one of them, but they're not really aware of the fact that there are several others out there. So this is an awareness and a sort of patching mechanism, I would say. I don't know if there is a foreseeable uh, tangible benefit, in the sense that, like, I don't see anything um, tangible coming out of it, but it's just like a thing that's there and that people can add on to, so that there is a database out there that people can contribute to and have their names listed, or rather have their communities names listed against. But does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It's really interesting to see the number of CNCF or like Kubernetes for cloud native projects.
And I actually just reached out to them, like the main program manager, and I ended up just like asking them. And there are several others, but I do not have the details, which is why this is very much a work in progress. And if we were to take it to a global scale, that this would even, this would have way more entries than the ones that are there right now. So the idea is to just have something that people can refer to. It could be community managers, it could even be, folks who are interested in participating in open source but just really do not have an idea. So yeah.
That's exactly what I was just going to say, is I think for a tangible benefit, I think if I'm a newcomer to open source and I want to look for a project that is the work is happening in my time zones, maybe speaks my language, folks that I could connect with a little bit easier. I think this is a fantastic place to start. So I love it so much. My second question or comment, I guess, was do you, how do I say this? Do you want this to be global, or would you like to just kind of keep it to the regions that it's in right now? What's your feeling on that?
Scalability wise, I have no problem with it being global, to be very honest. It would really be great, but I do not know if there is an appetite for that, because I definitely know the ecosystem in Asia is fragmented, which is why this was born out of that need. I do not know if there is such a need in the global ecosystem. So I actually was looking to you folks to actually give me inputs on that, because of course it's not rocket science to sort of like add the community in there. To be honest, it really is just PRing it through GitHub, so it's not much. But yeah, I mean, I would look towards y'all to understand if there's an appetite for this in the first place, across, other regional ecosystems as well.
That's fair. Go ahead, Georg.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your work. I admit that I have very little insight into the communities that I'm not part of myself. And so being able to see the vastness of open source, like what you're showing here, I think highlights the scope of that open source communities that we are part of. And it might also be able to help someone find new connection points and say, hey, there's someone working on something interesting, who can I reach out to? I didn't even know that existed. So I and think about your question, is there an appetite for this? I like that you have an appetite for it, so that's already a good indicator. Solving something that you want to see solved in the world. I can see myself using that at some point to identify and learn more about open source projects I'm unaware of. One of the thoughts that is going through my head is whether having this list is if there's any signaling going on here by including a community on the list, that there's like a stamp of approval saying, hey, this might be a good community to participate in. And then a second thought is about updating the list, because communities might become inactive. And if you've thought about that, so that there are two things that I'm curious about, just as a passing thought to explore.
So that's a very good point that you brought up about communities expiring, because we actually do have one on here that has expired, and it was brought to our notice just today by one of the people in Chaos Asia. So the idea when I started out with this was to probably have a yearly check-in with the person or people who have submitted the data. And I know that's a lot of overhead, don't get me wrong, I do understand that that's a lot of overhead, but that's also something that I think would help keep it updated. So that's one of the things that I had in mind. Could be completely idealistic about this, I'm not saying that I'm not, but that's what I had in mind, because so far we do not have a large scale, or I mean, we're not like thousands and in crores of communities scale, so it is still very doable, but from a scalability perspective, I'm not sure how that would work out. So maybe we might need to sort of introduce some sort of verification mechanism. That's one thing. And also, like, if we do feel that a community has sort of run its course and it's no longer active, there is a way for them to contribute as well, which is there in the contributing section. So you just have to raise a PR, or create a GitHub issue, and we could do the needful. So that's also an option. But to your point, my idea was to have an annual verification sort of a process. There was no simple way out of it. And regarding the first question, that I think it's not out. I don't think it's a lot of signaling, but I do think it's just awareness, more related towards awareness. I mean, I personally don't look at it as signaling, and I could be very narrowly scoping my vision, because I've had that need. So I don't think of it as signaling. Like, I am not giving you a certificate of good open source community by being on here. It is just a listing, and it is community contributed. So all of the listings that we have on here are contributed by people from those respective communities. It's not something that I have sought out, so I don't think of it. But it's an interesting thought, and it's a very valid one, because I had not thought of it.
I was looking at some of those lists that Elizabeth just put in there too, with Brazil and Made in Africa. And to Georg's point, I'm wondering if there could be a simpler way, as opposed to reaching out to people, that if their repository isn't active within the last year, they just simply get removed. Because you do look at some of those, and maybe that's not the right way of doing it, but you do look at some of those repositories and they're 8 years old. Not on the list that you have, but on some of the lists that Elizabeth shared. And if the goal is for like people to have like an experience of participating in a community, if something's not been updated for 8 years, the code might still be valuable, but like the community engagement part might not be real relevant. And you may not want it on your list.
True, I agree. Like there are several code bases that are honestly Jurassic and they do not have like communities around them, but the code is still very much usable. So I mean,
And
I
it
I
sounds
get
like
it.
your focus is on like people working
Yeah,
with
the people aspect of it. Yes.
that, less about the code.
Yes.
Yeah, actually, Gary, fair point.
There was even a suggestion that we should add conferences. I was like, okay, I mean, we should probably just stop at communities at this point because having a separate conferences section would like muddle it all up. I would not recommend that. And there's already, I think there are already 3 or 4 websites around like open source conferences that are there on the internet, and we don't need to add to that with yet another website. So I was very, you know, clear about the scope that this should be about communities, and this idea was honestly not even, to be frank, not mine. Like a lot of the idea that we got was from here. I just hope this is not the right spelling clearly. So the idea to sort of do this came from here, which Roland from CHAOSS Asia, but he's from Australia. He actually gave a signal of, hey, this could be something that you could do because like Asia is fragmented. So this is only research communities, and they're not Asian. I mean, they're not just open source. They're like everything. So he's like, maybe you could do something for open source given the challenges that you have. So yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you.
Thank you. I will stop sharing then. And I'll hand it back to Elizabeth.
Thank you so much, Divya. This is so wonderful. Do you, one more question for you. So are you actively looking for more folks to contribute to this, or is it kind of complete how it is? I can't remember what you commented about that.
So my initial idea was to like have it specific to Asia, and then maybe if people found it useful in this context, we'd extrapolate it to a global one. Again, if there's an appetite and if we can get over the problems of how to verify if communities are dead or not, the ones that are listed there. So we do want more contributors because this is like, so far it's just someone who actually worked on this, who has been doing the scaffolding and everything else, but I reckon that we would need a small team of contributors to help sustain it, because I don't assume that it's going to be a small job if people contribute and then you know for us to keep accepting and triaging the issues and accepting the PRs. It probably should be a more diverse crew than just Asians. So, yeah, I do think this would, I mean, I would want more people to contribute to it and potentially make this a global thing. That is, again, like if we have more heads together in terms of understanding who, who, how we do the verification bits and everything else. So I'm all yours if anybody else has any thoughts.
My other question is, how do you feel about writing a blog post about it? I think that would be
Writing is easy. That is the one thing I can do. very well.
Not to like give you more work to do, but I
No,
think this would be a great thing to promote on the blog and to talk about, because I think it's a perfect example of how just you can take an idea for a project and make it happen, and it seems like a good place for contributors to start contributing. They don't really have to know deep knowledge of chaos or code or really anything. Just help us build this database of information out and do some research. So think it's just a fantastic way. I think it's a good example of providing a way for people to contribute, and also again just taking an idea, making it happen. I think it's wonderful. So a blog would be great.
yes, and I also want to give credit where it's due. I also would want to thank Roland and Samman, because this was just my like sort of idea, but a lot of like work that was done was actually by Roland and by Samman later on with the code. So yeah.
Let me just make sure I have this. Great. Awesome. Thank you so much. Anybody have any final questions for Divya? Yay. What a cool project. I love it so much. Oops. Okay, let me share again. I think I added Roland to the minutes, but I want to make sure I spell his last name wrong or right. I want to make sure I spell it wrong. Yeah, I would like to make sure that I spell it correctly. I think so. If someone has that and wants to drop that in there, if not, I'll go back and.
I do. I'll drop it in there. No problem.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, let's go ahead and move on. We have just a few minutes left. CHAOSS Con CFP ends soon, 3 days. So please, 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 if you have an idea that you've been tossing around, please fill that out. The link is down here, right here. And if you would like to help us promote that, I posted something to LinkedIn. I'll probably post something to Mastodon, maybe X, I don't know, a little bit later today, but it'd be great if you could help us kind of just spread the word, make sure people know about that. I know a lot of folks do wait to the last minute, but yeah, it would be great if we got a few more of those for a few more responses. So please help us do that. Questions about that?
Can you share the link to the LinkedIn post? I have trouble when I hear, hey, we shared this on LinkedIn, to actually find it. When I
Yes,
go
I
to like the CHAOSS profile on LinkedIn, it doesn't show the most recent posts. And I also run into the problem that LinkedIn is designed to distract me. And so after 10 minutes, I'm like, why am I even on LinkedIn? And I haven't solved it, sent it. So when you have something like this where you can just share, here's the post, and then I can click on it and share it and close LinkedIn, it would do me a great service.
sharing the LinkedIn link in general. I do the same thing, Georg, and actually that exact thing happened to me when I was trying to post it. I was like, oh, I have notifications. Oh, I have requests, link requests. I have all these other things. No, I'm with you. I just need to, yeah, focus. So I will do that. I will do that for sure. Good idea. Oops. Nope, I don't want that blotted. Okay. Anything else? Okay. I'm not sure who put this on.
Did you see this at all?
I
And then,
think I saw somebody mentioning it in general, right?
yeah, and I was actually wondering, like, Georg, because you're in industry more than I am, do you know this company?
No, I've not heard of Athenian.
Okay. And I'm not, it says like acquired by the Linux Foundation. Like I'm not sure if the company was acquired or they're just using their services. Acquired is a weird term here. But I couldn't, like they have that LFX stuff. I don't know quite what to make of this. And I wasn't sure if anybody had seen this or spent any time.
This reminds me also of OpenSauced,
What is
Brian
it?
Douglas, who closed his project and moved to the Linux Foundation, and I think the project was acquired by the Linux Foundation,
Okay.
and they have made some other acquisitions in the metrics space, and my guess is they are hiring engineers to work on the LFX Insights platform.
Okay.
And the founders of these projects, they're looking for this is my assumption, looking
Yeah,
at
yeah.
the ecosystem, the startup culture in Silicon Valley is you start a project, a company, and then you get acquired, and that's your exit. And the
Yeah.
Linux Foundation provides this exit to very talented people, and they come and work on like the LFX platform.
Okay. Okay. Just might be something we watch. I mean, we've obviously had, as many of you know, a long conversation from years ago regarding LFX Insights, which had its own unique path. And this may not really change anything here. So, because it looks like, honestly, it still looks like it's going to be open sourced. I don't know. Who knows? Anyway, yeah, Divya.
So this is from 2023, the article, and apparently this should have been open source by now, according to the article. So,
Okay.
I mean, I
I
don't
don't
think
know.
we've reached that part yet.
It was just something that came across my radar, and maybe there's a right, because this was Divya, you bring up a point like a long time ago, LFX Insights, which was that dashboard interface they had at the LF, was ironically not open sourced.
Yeah.
Um,
This is the last post that they have though, so I'm curious what is the next, what happened next after that. Like I did not see anything from either party. So
okay, maybe Georg's right. It's just about hiring talent. Who knows?
Yeah,
Okay.
these companies that promise to look at impact of engineering teams and provide support to the managers and whatnot, it is that they exist like that. There are so many out there. I tried tracking them all and keeping track of them because we do something similar at Bitergia, and they come and go. It's not even worth trying to track them.
Okay.
And that's my experience after doing this for 6 years. And it's so easy for someone to say, "Oh, I can pull an API Git log, I can analyze it." And then after 2 years, 3 years, these projects die. There are a few companies that charge really big dollars from companies that feel like they need this insight, and they're making really good money with this. I'm still trying to figure out how can we get some of those dollars. But the other companies, they come and go. And from a Bitergia perspective, we just closed Cauldron.io because providing the metrics is not a business model that we've found to be attractive. And we couldn't find enough paying customers. We had till the end, and even now I get emails from users because Cauldron was free, but they weren't willing to pay for it.
Gotcha. Right. Right. I agree. Like metrics for metrics' sake doesn't do a whole lot of good for anybody. And things like Cauldron, like, yeah, you can get the metrics, but right, if you don't have any context or people to help you through that process, I think this is where you were going. It's pretty tricky.
Still something interesting, you know, to just kind of be aware of anyway, of what they're doing. So thanks for bringing that up.
Thanks.
That was interesting. We are out of time, so I'm going to stop sharing. CHAOSS committee, do we need to meet today after this meeting? Do we have stuff to talk about? I feel like once the CFP is closed, we will, but maybe not right now.
I think we're good.
Okay, I'm going to stop recording. Everybody